We're talking all about wallets today. You can't talk crypto without talking about wallets. There's hot ones, there's cold ones, there's exchange ones that you might not know that much about, but could pose a security risk for you. No matter which ones you currently have or want to have, the most important thing is you need to understand what these are, how these work, and most importantly, why you need to stop putting off getting a cold wallet. It's just like insurance. You'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. We're gonna be diving into what crypto wallets are, how do they work, I'm gonna go through the pros and cons of each type, and I'm gonna be giving you a review and full step-by-step tutorial on setting up the cold wallet that I use. And spoiler alert, it's the Bitbox02 by Shift Crypto, a Swiss company. And I'm gonna be telling you exactly why I chose it over the Trezor and the Ledger, both super well-known companies, but actually had some security flaws. So we're gonna be diving into that later in the video. We've got lots to go over with learning about all these crypto wallets, so sit back, relax, and let's learn all about crypto wallets. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Brian Logan. I am so thankful that you guys are here. Before we jump in, a few things. There is a ton of content in this video, so I've included some timestamps down below. And in fact, if you're here for the tutorial and the setup of the Bitbox02, feel free to use those timestamps to jump ahead to the end of the video. I've also got a blog, brianlogan.com, where I'll put all the visuals and the transcript of this video. And I've also started a Discord channel with the link below, so you can come chat with me, ask questions, as well as the rest of the community. So be sure to check that out. Next, as a quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial expert or professional, and all crypto and stocks and investing involve risks, so be sure to understand those before getting involved. And lastly, as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the Bitbox02, which is the hardware wallet that I use. And I've worked out a deal with the company where you can get a 5% discount if you use my link below. So be sure, as we're going through this, if it sounds intriguing, use my link and get that 5% off when you order yours. All right, with that, let's jump right in. The first thing we need to understand is what are wallets, why do they exist, and what role do they play in cryptocurrency? All right, so the first thing we need to understand is that crypto wallets are not like traditional wallets where you hold all of your cash and your credit cards all in one place. Cryptocurrency wallets act more as holding the keys to your cryptocurrency that are actually stored on the blockchain. And your wallet holds two types of keys, both public and private keys. And that private key is the most important. That's the one that actually allows you to access the coins and the value that you have on those different blockchains, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum. Without going into a lot of detail, the public keys just act as a way to send and receive coin without sharing that private key. Because again, that private key, which we're going to be talking a lot about today, is truly the key, the access point to your coins on the network or blockchain. So a few more things about crypto wallets. One, there was traditionally one wallet per exchange. So there was a Bitcoin wallet, an Ethereum wallet, kind of one wallet per chain. So if you wanted to interact with these different cryptocurrencies, you had to have multiple different wallets to hold those keys. Since cryptocurrency has evolved over the years, now there's a much more simplistic way where you can have a single wallet that holds all of your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Dogecoin, different private keys for you to access your coins on those different blockchains. Now that we understand a little bit more about what cryptocurrency wallets are, again, they're just a way to store your private key or your access to your actual coins on the different blockchains. That private key is actually not specifically linked to you. So what I mean by that is that anybody who has access to your private key can access your coins on the blockchain. It's not specific to your actual physical person. So that means if I were to lose a private key or post a private key online, whoever had it would have complete access to those coins on the blockchain. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in a few minutes, but just understand the private key is absolutely critical for you to have ownership of your coins on the blockchain to do with what you want. And that private key has to be kept secret. Otherwise, anyone can have access to those coins. So with that, the last question is really, how do you store this wallet? And there's really three main ways. The first one are exchange wallets. So kind of your Coinbase, Kraken, Binance. We're gonna be going into detail of these in a minute. The next one is hot storage wallets. This is more of like your PC and your phone. And lastly are cold storage wallets. That's like paper wallets or hardware wallets, which is what the Bitbox02 is, as well as the Trezor and Ledger type hardware. Those are wallets specifically designed to hold your private keys for your crypto. So we're gonna go through all of that in a minute. But if you're finding this really helpful, be sure to like and subscribe now, as well as post a comment if you have any questions along the way. All right, so we're gonna be jumping into exchange wallets first. So what are exchange wallets? Well, as the name implied, these are wallets that are stored on an exchange. So for instance, you have an exchange wallet right now. If you have any coins on Coinbase, Coinbase Pro, Kraken, Kraken Pro, Binance, Gemini, those are all exchanges. And if you have money stored on them, you currently have an exchange wallet. You just probably don't know it. So what are these different exchange wallets? Well, these different exchanges are acting as an asset custodian, and I know that sounds pretty financially, but what all that means is an asset custodian is someone or a business that has physical possession of your financial assets, which means in this case with cryptocurrency, your private keys. You heard that right. We're going to be talking a lot more about this, and this is why there's a lot of controversy about storing coins on exchanges, is because you don't own the private keys, and the reason you typically have an asset custodian is for convenience and for security. And that's exactly what's happening here. And so that's why there's a lot of controversy around exchange wallets and keeping your money on an exchange, is because you don't own your private keys, and they're big fish in the sea that hackers know they have a lot of money that they control, so they can try to go after that. One way that these exchanges try to mitigate some of that risk is by storing your private keys in cold storage. We'll get more into what this means, but essentially they try to not have your private keys on an internet device or server, so that if they were to get hacked, no one could access those private keys to all of the different cryptos. Before diving into a visual about how this works a little bit more on exchanges, just quickly some pros and cons. So the pros of an exchange wallet, which is what you've probably used the most and interacted with, is it's super easy. There's usually a beautiful UI. You can easily buy and sell almost instantaneously. You can also typically integrate, so that a lot of platforms now offer staking. In fact, I did a video on staking on Coinbase and Kraken, which I'll link up above, so feel free to check that out. And exchanges also offer a lot of tools and support. So there's a lot of pros with exchanges. The cons is that, as we've said, you don't own your coins. Yes, it's there and you can access and trade, but you don't actually physically have those private keys to access your funds on the actual physical blockchain. Okay, so now let's jump over to a visual a little bit more on how this works on exchanges. So from our side, we've got our account, our Coinbase, Coinbase Pro, whatever it may be, our account. We put funds into essentially a record-keeping system. So these exchanges have big databases that basically run a ledger of like, hey, Brian deposited $5,000. Okay, he's got $5,000. Then, because that ledger exists, we're able to interact with the exchanges that they built to trade that for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatnot. And as we do that, we're simply updating that record system but the movement of the actual coins and the processing of those transactions on the blockchain aren't happening on our side. They're happening on the back end where Coinbase owns our private keys. These exchanges are basically just keeping a record system, and then they kind of reconcile all of that on the back end. And the only reason they're able to do that is because they own all the private keys. They have a sum of private keys, a sum of money of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're essentially able to make the trades possible for us and then take care of all of the work and the trading on the back end of the system. So you can see where the convenience piece comes in, right? All of this record keeping and transaction allows us to day trade and to trade quickly, but ultimately we don't actually have control of the coins that are being moved around on the back end. And the problem with this is it allows two areas for hackers to attack. One, there's kind of the record system, right? If they attack the record system and Coinbase loses that record, then there's an issue with knowing how much money you're owed and how much money you actually have. So, and that's always connected to the internet because that's how we have to exchange and interact with each other and make these markets. So that's kind of one vulnerability. And then the other side, the additional vulnerability is on the back end. All of these different private keys and the funds that Coinbase has is a whole other area that hackers have the ability to try to hack and get into the different private keys that Coinbase owns. So I know that was a lot on exchange wallets, but hopefully it makes a little bit more sense as you think about what's happening on the back end and why people talk about, you know, not keeping your coins on exchanges and just any other questions surrounding kind of the security of keeping your coins on exchanges. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment down below. And if you're finding this helpful, be sure to like and subscribe the video now. Hot wallets actually give you full control of your private key. So what are hot wallets? So some of the companies that you may have heard of or may not have heard of are Exodus, Trust Wallet, MetaMask. Hot wallets give you more control of your private key, and that private key is stored on typically either the PC or the phone. In fact, it's where you set that wallet up. So if you use Exodus, you download the Exodus app and set up the app on your phone. Your private key is now stored on your phone and you have access to your coins via Exodus, and it allows you to send and receive Bitcoin or any of your other cryptocurrency as needed. And you just have full control of those coins. There's nobody else who has access to those private keys. Now, what does hot mean? Hot means it's simply always connected to the internet. So your phone or your PC is always communicating with the internet, meaning there's an opportunity for hackers to potentially get into your computer via malware or phishing emails or anything like that. So hot wallets are really kind of closer to exchange wallets, but offer a little bit more control of your actual private key. And you see that in the pros here. They're still convenient. They allow you to trade and transact pretty quickly and easily. You can oftentimes interact with staking and other integrations right through your hot wallet. And some wallets even offer a lot of different tools of integration between your PC and your phone and things like that. So a lot of convenience still with hot wallets. It just gives you more control of that actual private key. And as I just mentioned, the con with this is that you are fully responsible for that private key. And people gain access to your private key. They literally have all of your coins at that point. So while I don't have a specific side on hot wallets about how these work or how to set these up, it's very intuitive. If you go to Exodus, for example, and download their app or on the PC, they walk you step by step how to set this up. And it's like 3 clicks. It's super easy. They generate a private key for you, and then you're able to move in any of your coins from Coinbase or Kraken or anywhere else onto your hot wallet on your phone or your PC. Very simple, very easy to use. And I would say it's a great first step in more control of your coins to get it off an exchange and put it onto a hot wallet, especially if you're planning to use your coins a lot more. This could be a good place for you is using these hot wallets. So lastly, we're going to be talking about cold wallets and why these are so critical, how these work, and most importantly, walking through how to use Bitbox and the one I use, which you can see how you can get coins in and out, and actually how simple it really is to use. So how do these cold hardware wallets work? Well, they were purposely designed to store your private keys on them, which means that from the ground up, the actual physical hardware was purposely built for security so that whether you lost it or you connected it to something, that people could not access your private key. These are kind of the top of the line in security for your crypto. And that security comes from the hardware, but also from the fact that it's called cold because it's not connected to the internet. So it's very secure and gives you full control of all your coins. And the only downside of these, before jumping into a little bit more on how these works and how to set up the Bitbox, is that one, you're responsible again for the security. You have to keep track of this device, or at least keep track of the backup for the device. But then also it's a little less convenient. While it's pretty simple to send and receive different cryptocurrencies, sometimes if you wanted to trade like in and out, doing that from a cold wallet is a little more difficult than having something like a hot wallet or your coins on an exchange. So as I kind of mentioned with hot wallets about how you set up and it generates your private key, that's the same thing for a cold wallet. When you first set up the device, it will generate a private key for you, and that private key will stay on that device and be the most secure wallet that you have for your crypto. You will also typically get a way to then back up your private key. You often find in the crypto world the seed phrase, or talking about a seed phrase. And what this seed phrase is your private key. All it is your private key mathematically transformed into a set of 12 to 24 random words from the dictionary. So I know that sounds super crazy, that how can 12 to 24 words be my private key when it's just a bunch of random numbers and letters? Well, the answer is math. There's a set way that it's able to transform that long string of characters into the specific 12 and 24 words that it chooses from the dictionary. So while these random words may seem in fact random, they actually act as your private key and can just as easily be transformed back into your private key. So that's briefly a little bit about what cold wallets are and how they work. Now let me show you a brief visual, a little bit more in depth of how this process works. So specifically for the Bitbox02 wallet, which that functionality is pretty similar to other hardware wallets. We'll get into more of the differences in a minute. But you have the physical device where you set up a PIN to turn on and access the device. But then the device the first time sets up your private key, which is just, again, then translated into a seed phrase for you. And this seed phrase is something you want to write down either on a piece of paper, or more importantly, I write it down on like a metal device, which I'll kind of show a picture of here, as well as put a link down in the description for the one that I use. And the reason for writing the seed phrase down on a metal device is because I can put it somewhere and let's say if there was a fire and the house burned down and even my hardware wallet was burned, this metal device would have my seed phrase. And if I had that seed phrase, I could buy another hardware wallet and use that seed phrase and get access to my private key and all of my coins on Bitcoin. So it's critically important to take care of this seed phrase. Now Bitbox02 actually offers a super great way to do that, and that's a separate SD card. So this SD card is imprinted with your seed phrase and gives you the ability to store that in a separate location. So again, none of your coins are actually stored on any of these devices, whether they're exchange, hot, or cold wallets. It's that private key that gives you access to the coins. It's the keys to your coins on the blockchain. So you have to protect the key. But if you have a copy of those keys and you lose one, as long as you have another one, you can still access those coins. So that's kind of this idea of backing up your hardware wallet, is having the seed phrase or an SD card in the case of Bitbox, which is super convenient in case there's a catastrophe and things happen and you lose your original Bitbox. And then once you set it up and you've got your PIN to access and your seed phrase and your private key all ready to go, all you need to do is connect it to either a phone or a computer, which is actually a great benefit of Bitbox2, is you can connect connect it to either, and then you have access in order to send and receive your coins. All right, so that was a visual overview about how hardware wallets work and how specifically the Bitbox wallet works. But now I want to show you my Bitbox, and I want to go step by step how I set it up and give you a little bit of review as we're going through it. So before I jump in specifically to the step-by-step guide and review of the Bitbox02 that I use, I want to answer the question, is a cold storage wallet right for you? I would say the answer is yes, but I will say if you have under $1,000 in crypto, it may not be worth purchasing a hardware wallet. And the reason for that is these devices are usually around $100 to $150. And while it would be great, I'm not sure that investing 10% of that in a storage device is really worth it. Now, that's obviously up to you, but I would say that if you have $1,000 or less, sticking with a hot wallet or maybe even an exchange wallet. All right, with that, let's jump into Bitbox02, why I chose it, the step-by-step guide, and my total review of how it works and all the transactions. All right, so let's jump into the Bitbox02. So I'm super excited to be able to work out with the company where they sent me over the Bitbox and I was able to get set up at 5% off of the Bitbox. So be sure to check out the link below and it'll take you to this page. Be sure my face is at the top with my little quote and that way you know you're in the right place. So this is the Bitbox02 website. It's a great place to check out all about it, but we're gonna cover some of the main things. And the first thing I wanna talk about is this comparison chart down at the bottom here. So this tells you a lot about the difference between Bitbox as well as the Trezor and the Ledger Nano, which are some of the other popular hardware wallets. When I look to compare the Bitbox versus these other well-known companies, you can see the full comparison here about all the different features and why Bitbox is better. But for me, it's all about security. And Kraken Security Labs, which I'll put links below, actually found security issues with both the Ledger and the Trezor. From hardware issues to phishing scams, both of those have had issues in the past. That doesn't mean they're bad wallets. It just means that there are some potential security flaws with those that I wasn't seeing with the Bitbox. So for me, the Bitbox made the most sense. And not only that, you're gonna see there's a really great, easy to use UI, as well as the device is really sturdy and set up well and seems to have like a premium feel. So we're gonna jump more into that, but I encourage you to come and check this full comparison out on this page. Again, the link is below. One thing I will say that you definitely need to check out before buying this or any other hardware wallet is the coins and tokens supported. So if you click on this, you're gonna be able to see all of the different coins that Bitbox supports. So be sure to type in your coins here to make sure that Bitbox supports them. They support up to over 1,500, so chances are it's gonna be covered. I will say one of the coins I do have that's not covered is Polkadot. However, my Polkadot is staked on Kraken. Be sure to check out the video above where I go through all about staking. So for me, it's already being staked and I don't need to put it on a hardware wallet. So that's not a big deal for me. But just be sure to check to make sure that your coins are supported that you plan to store. All right, so let's jump back to the last page. So again, when you click on the link below, you're gonna come to this page. So the first thing you need to do when you get your Bitbox is download the desktop app. They also have an Android app that you can use that has a lot of the same functionality. So feel free to check that out and you can set up everything through that as well. So you're gonna go to app and download it onto your computer. So I've already downloaded it, so I'll show you what it looks like now. So once you download it, it looks like this. It's a really clean app and you're gonna see until we connect anything, it's pretty much blank. So now let's jump over to the device to show you what it looks like. So this is the Bitbox02, and the Bitbox02 actually has two versions, a Bitcoin only as well as a multi-coin device. And this is the multi-coin device because I'm gonna store lots of different coins on it. So it comes in this tamper seal envelope, which is awesome. So you know that in shipping, no one messes with it. Once you open it up, you can see that the device actually has touch sensors on each side of it, and that's how you're gonna navigate around the system. And you can see inside here is the Bitbox02, and again, it calls out the invisible touch sensors along each side. You'll see how we navigate in a minute. So the device has a nice screen, which you'll see when we turn it on. It comes with a USB-C port, which is great for both your computer and the Android device. And then on this side is your SD card slot, which holds the backup of your private key, which you'll see in a minute. And then it also comes with the SD card, so you're all set to go, and we'll pop that out in just a minute. Other things inside the box are a USB-C cable, a little pack of goodies, including a USB-C to the old standard USB. And aside from that, there's also just some quick start guide as well as some other peripherals. All right, so let's get this set up. So as the computer says, we're gonna plug in the device to get started. So I'm going to use this little adapter. Once I'm done that, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the Bitbox into the USB-C. All right, so now that we've got our device connected, we can see that we verify the code. We're gonna create a new wallet. We're gonna name it, we'll call it Brian Logan. Next, we need to set a password, and you just go through and select the different groupings of letters to set up your password, and you can always go back. So now we need to set up the backup on the SD card. So be sure to read through all of these and then select continue. We're going to insert the card into the side and the backup's been created. Okay, at this point, the SD card now has our backup. So again, as we mentioned, that is your seed phrase. So you can take that SD card and place it in a secure location in case you lose your Bitbox or it gets damaged in a fire or something like that. You always have your backup somewhere else. All right, now that the device is all set up, we need to add some coins to our hardware wallet. So you can see in the user UI here that we've got our main coins that are available on the device. If you need to add more coins, it's really easy. Just go down to here to settings, manage accounts, show tokens, and you can click to turn any of these other coins that you have on. They have additional instructions on their website to add even more coins up to those 1,500 as well. So we're gonna go back to my portfolio and we're gonna add some Bitcoin from my Coinbase Pro account onto the Bitbox for safekeeping. So to do that, we're going to come over to Bitcoin and we're going to go to receive. And now we need to see the address in order to input into Coinbase Pro to get our coins moved over. So we're going to say show and verify full address on device. So now that we have that, we're going to go over to Coinbase Pro. Now that we're in Coinbase Pro, we're going to go to Bitcoin and we're going to go ahead and withdraw our Bitcoin. We're going to use a crypto address. So now we need to enter that Bitcoin address from the Bitbox02. So we're going to copy this address here. We're going to go back over to Coinbase Pro. We're going to enter that address here. We're going to paste it in. We're going to hit use this address. It's a valid Bitcoin address, which is great. Now at this point, you could test and use a small amount of Bitcoin, or you can go ahead and transfer all of it at once. It's up to you. Some people really recommend starting with a small amount and making sure the transfer goes through and then doing the full amount. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and do this max amount that I have in this account just to show you for demonstration purposes. Then you can see what the network fees are, and we're going to hit withdraw. So now we're done in Coinbase Pro. So we're going to go back over to Bitbox to see it transfer over. So we got a notification that a transfer occurs. So if I go over to my Bitcoin, we can see that this transaction is coming through and it's pending, the amount of Bitcoin that I'm moving over and the current value at the current price. So currently it's pending because it has to verify over 3 network transactions or so. But at this point, the Bitcoin is being transferred from Coinbase Pro over to our Bitbox. All right, it's been a few minutes. You can see that my available balance is now updated to what I transferred over. It still says pending, but that'll update in a few minutes. So at this point, you are good to go, and you can see that transfer was really easy. And if we go back to our portfolio tab, it's really cool to see that it keeps track of all your coins, and it'll actually keep track of your value over your time. Now, let's say you wanted to use that coin or send it or get it off of your hardware wallet. It's the same process, just in reverse. If we wanted to get our Bitcoin off, we would just simply go to our coin, our Bitcoin. We would send it versus receiving it. We would need our receiver address. So if we were going to send it back to Coinbase Pro, we come to Coinbase Pro, we would say deposit, Bitcoin, crypto address. Now Coinbase is going to give us an address to use. We just simply copy that address, go back to Bitbox, paste that address here, enter how much we want to do. We can send it all. And now you have the option to set different priorities. So normal priority is going to go with a standard network fee. If you need to send it really fast, you can see that it will update the fee to be higher, which means the transaction will actually happen faster because the miners will choose your transaction over others. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at normal. You can add a note if you want to. You're going to review. This is where you just want to check that that address is the correct one from Coinbase Pro. It should be, since we just copied it over, but always good to double check. It's going to tell you your network fees and everything is good to go. Now to continue, we're going to go over to our Bitbox. So on the Bitbox, you can see that it has the amount and the public key of where we're sending. And again, you can scroll along the bottom and then we simply tap these two together. And I actually don't want to send it, but because we just moved it onto the device, but all you have to do is hold these until the 2 little arrows touch. And at that point, it'll start the transaction back to where you want to send it. But that's how easy it is to send, just like it is to receive. You can get so much security from this device, and yet it's still really easy to interact with your coins and send them to the different places. So you can see it doesn't really take that much time. So if I needed to trade my coins, I could just simply move them back over to Coinbase Pro, trade them out, and then move them back if I need to. So now a few other cool things that you can do and set up on the UI. So the other great thing that you need to check out when you do is go to manage device, and you can see your backups. That's just going to show you your SD card, but you can also show your recovery words. So while your SD card has them stored safely on them, you can also view them and write them down and put them somewhere else. So let's just show you what that looks like. So if we show recovery words, obviously it's going to tell you all the warnings that you don't want to show this to anybody. Hit confirm. And now you just need to unlock your device and they'll show you your recovery word. So I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so now that the device is locked, you can now see all of my 24 seed word phrases. So again, if someone gets these 24 words, they have access to all of your coins. So do not show these to anybody. Do not tell anybody about these. These are the keys to your coins. And so it's stored on your SD card as well, so that needs to be kept safe. So what I'm gonna do, instead of writing these down on a piece of paper and also putting it somewhere safe, separate from both my Bitbox and my SD card, just to have an extra layer of security, I'm gonna actually put it onto a metal wallet or metal card device. So I'll link some up above to show you what they look like and show you on the screen now. But these devices, again, protect you from fire. So this is something you could store in your house with you. So unlike your SD card where it may be somewhere else, this metal device you could keep in your house in case there was a fire or flood. You'd still be able to access this card because it's all metal. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's awesome that you're able to do both with the Bitbox. And with that, to close it out, all you need to do is unplug the Bitbox. So now that we're done, the most important thing is that this device holds your private key with the access to your coins. Your SD card that's in here, I would remove your SD card and be sure to store that somewhere away from your Bitbox, recommended again a bank or somewhere else that you trust. And then I like to have my metal card that has all of my seed word phrases on it stored at my house somewhere safe as well. So a lot of great security, a lot of great things with Bitbox. I love it. It's really intuitive and great to use. And again, for me, it's all about security. So when you hear about Ledger or Trezor having issues, for me, this just made common sense. And again, if you think this is really cool and you check it out, be sure to click that link below. Remember, you'll see my face on the website, and that makes sure you're in the right place. And use the code BrianLogan when you check out to get that 5% off. And if you have any questions about it or want to go through anything else, feel free to comment down below. And I'd be happy to walk you through it. All right, that's the Bitbox02. I really enjoy it, and I really do believe it is the most secure cold wallet at this time. So overall, I hope this video was really helpful to not only explain what cryptocurrency wallets are, how they work, but also what's the difference between the different ways that you can store your wallets and your private keys, and which one makes the most sense for you. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up now, as well as subscribe to my channel. And be sure to join that Discord channel too if you really want to interact with the community and ask any more specific questions. With that, thanks so much for watching. I'm Brian Logan. Remember to stay healthy, love your family, and elevate your wealth.